Hello, welcome to my channel. It's good to have you here. My name is Gemma. I am a criminologist and a mother. And today I would like to talk to you a little bit more about these. I'm going to go something a little bit later, but I didn't want to because I didn't want to end it out like that because there's more, unfortunately. So I didn't want to end it out like that, like that's it, there's nothing more to say about it, because there is. So I have done some blogs, written some things on there, explain this, and I want to go deeper into this because the position that we're in at the minute in regards to child law is greatly destructively an abomination of society itself, so you can't even blame Ishtar at this stage. So on this one, I just obviously want to talk about how easy it is to sort of like get eloped in stuff when it comes to child law, because it's such a it's a sensitive topic that's been desensitized within our society. So it's not sensitized to us, it's hidden from us, but it's desensitized within the culture of working with children. So they prefer logic, for example, over empathy. So the solicitors usually gather the information, social workers, CAFCAS officers, these people will gather the information from like resource places for evidence-based purposes. Depending on how corrupt the society is, depending on how that is, or on your personal situation will depend on how severe the corruption can be, or how misinformation can get dislodged. And they use logic rather than understanding the loopholes of the emotional distress to the child. So if I was to round this off, they are more logical over the approach of protecting children and stuff like this. They don't take the centered approach that they're supposed to do, understanding aspects of empathy. And this is like the biggest downfall of child law as it stands today. There's no empathy in their roles, what they do. They've desensitized it, almost like the child isn't a person like them, almost like the child isn't as deserving as other children, and due to the misinformation. Okay, so usually by the time it gets to a judge, this information has been collaborated. So a lot of the times, by the time it gets to the judges, the information is can either be misinformed, or decisions have already been made by other judges prior to other judges making that decision, or being allowed to make a decision based on what evidence they have been provided. So a lot of the times when we have information provided to us, we would assume that's true. So let's just get it straight, like a lot of times information can be skewed by the time it gets to the judges, plainly obvious. However, the judges will then be able to see which solicitors and social workers are the ones who are actually lying as well, so eventually they'll get to it if they have the authority to do so. Okay, because I think it's obviously a different fraction, but I think if a judge made a complaint about certain assistants and CAFCAS officers and social workers, I'm pretty sure they'll be seen too. So I can see that not a lot of things are progressing in the way that it should be, and we are somewhat going backwards into a society, not because of the Muslims, but we are going backwards because we are using predetermined crime, or maybe a preempted position of a crime that can potentially take place. This is being used to put children in places where they are going to be super unsafe, like care, because no one's there to love them there, okay? Because they're also taught to stay in logic not be empathetic towards the children. And a lot of the times they just see it as a job and they disconnect, okay? So what happens with these people who work in them care homes who are nice, okay? A lot of them will come across a lot of abuse that takes place in there, and a lot of them will be silenced, not allowed to talk about it. And if they've seen or heard anything, and the only reason why they stay in their jobs is so that they can help the few children that they can, okay? So I can see why there's some good ones in there, and I can see the good apples in there, and I just want to make that clear, okay? So not all bad, but some of them are, okay? So the children that are actually placed in these situations, the reason why a lot of kind people will desensitize, and this goes for any job, in areas of homelessness, anything in aspects of resource, they slowly desensitize because it's a personal connection between somebody, and they don't want to have that connection with somebody because they've already done it a couple of times, and they've either let them go and they've seen them move on, or they've watched people that have really good experiences pass away, and the connection to them people could have been so strong that it became a broken foundation in the end, because obviously it came as an ending, not a beginning, but the ending was broken too. So a lot of people can desensitize themselves away, just like if you have a breakup within a relationship and you've been on, it's like being on 3 days and God, I've had enough, I don't want to go on another day again, right? So it's just like, I've had enough, but it's obviously a lot deeper than that. That's quite shallow, but to just be honest, that is just the understanding I can bring to you to make it make sense at this stage. The ones most likely to be prone to logic, and that's it, is a solicitor, which is a shame. Judges might show this as well, and that's a shame too, okay? I think I only know one really nice lady who was a judge. Well, I'm not going to go into that, but I'm not allowed. So, I've seen certain people go through my life and experienced how, you can have your own emotions of desensitization, but this happens within professional settings. So the reality is that don't bring your emotions to work and stuff like this, and it's almost like, how can you separate that? And it's almost cruel to tell somebody to be able to do that, because we are humans, okay? So they're forcing a robotic position, like you are robotic, something like they expect you to just live like a robot and have no emotions, no feeling for your job, nothing like that, because it's not fulfilling. So if you can't emotionally put yourself into that work, that job isn't emotionally fulfilling to you. So, as a woman anyway, I can understand that this might be hard as well, because this is where I would reside, in my intelligence and my emotions. So in these positions, like working in child law, so let's go back to this, we have people in soliciting communities that they are completely detached from these children, even though they're the ones who decide where the children go. There are counsels for these children below the judges, so they're the ones who deal with where the children go. So there'll be councils, of soliciting communities, and they decide where the children go through these committees. And this is the lower fraction of a judge position. So if they're making the decisions down there, why do you need a judge to just write it off? So there's the difference between understanding a predetermined outcome has already been made from a lower perspective to a higher point, because it could be in any reason, it could be for any reason, or it could be a gathering of misinformation and untruths, okay? So this is very prone in child law. Why? Because a lot of these children are going on presumptions, but the fact is that the umbrella of resources that they're meant to be ushered to help humanity, humans, children, people, is actually not being used for that, and it's being pushed back. I can give you examples for this. So we had sure starts all over the country in England, and they shut them down in COVID because of the COVID virus. Everyone had to stay at home. But in that time, they reopened those spaces and used them for contact centres so that they could remove the children. So where were they originally? Where were these contact centres originally? Okay, so they were in churches and things like this. Okay, this is where they was holding this is where they were holding contact. Okay, so they were largely unsupervised, and they were giving them back to fathers who were inadequate, basically, to have them. And this was due to the fathers' rights movement, where that crazy man climbed up Big Ben, which was a big setup. So they pushed Baby P, I think it was 2006, into law to create pre-crime. And then in 2010, they gave fathers more rights. What did this do to the matriarch? Well, it killed it, right? The UK. So why did you do that? I mean, the child is practically the mother for 9 months. It's her. So I think we need rights back, because you must understand that a mother, okay, ask any Middle Eastern man, right, who is modern, a lot of them will say that the mothers should hold the children, look after the children. The mothers always look after the children. Obviously the dads have them sometimes, but the mothers look after the children. So obviously this is, I think, Turkey, right? So there's other places in this world that will agree on the fact that a matriarch is important. Look at the flags, okay? The Pakistan's got a flag on there, it's moon. And Turkey, okay? And there's others, right? So you can see a matriarch energy is very important, and they show this. And the reason why I think it's annoying that, like, you've given rights to men when the man, say for example, if the man is domestically abusive, do you give that man another chance? Under a logical perspective, you don't give that man another chance, but in reality, what you're doing in them courtrooms is you're giving them men the children, and that's concerning, because the men who are taking the children, a large scale like this isn't too bad, because it's still the parents have the children. But the pre-crime with the Baby P literally pushed these children into more vulnerable spaces for almost dramatizing family life to conduct these removals, and false evidence reports, doctors' reports to save their surgeries, and other resources that have been transformed from Sure Start, where you get taught how to breastfeed your child, to a place where your children are being removed from you in that vicinity, and it was a Sure Start. So the resources are no more. They are actually they have turned their back on the children, okay? So this is how I can best explain it to you, just to finish this off. The soliciting communities, a lot of them don't like even doing it. They want to protect the children. So I'm not slating all soliciting communities, because there's ones who you can get money, you can sue the councils for it, but again, these things shouldn't have to be waited on for 18 years for these children to get help. These shouldn't be happening until the children are 18 years old to be able to get help. These children should be getting it as soon as possible, and they shouldn't be unseen and unheard and told to be quiet, okay? Because this is the forms of manipulation that take place from the government itself, from the social services, from the CACA, and they're doing it so that they don't have to have repercussions. So instead they abuse the children and manipulate them and say things that they shouldn't say, that say, like, if it's not a wrong thing, and then they're telling the children that it's wrong, so they're confusing the child even in a logical way to stop them from understanding a role of a parent. As simple as that. And it's cruel to sort of like push that single mum, it's bad, okay? Which is, they do that. They do push this. I know people that have left care or been in care and they've now left care and they've had stories about this. Every single one of them have been hurt. Every single one of them have been hurt in care, and it's sad because I'm still yet to find somebody who hasn't been hurt yet that have been in care. And they say it's 8 times more likely to be abused, but you've already been abused, I believe. If you've been put in care, you've been abused because you've been removed from your mum, your dad. You've been removed from a primary caregiver that gave you a heart, love. And when you do things like this, and so if you do it to aspects of energy like children, women, you're looking for a downfall in a society, you know, and at the same time you won't be able to hide it for much longer. This is why they're so pronounced on war and crimes from other countries in the media, because they don't want you to know what's going on within your own country and what your own government is doing to your children, okay? So there's a lot of fabrication on race at the minute, on, you know, how they allowed gender wars to actually even take place, even though it was all illegal under the government. For example, mutilation. You're not allowed to mutilate. So giving children pubic blockers is a form of mutilation because you're stalling that growth. So it's all questionable in the eyes of the law, but it's not questionable in the eyes of God. And this is the reality. Like, to know the level of destruction, to ignore a law, okay, and to conduct anyway, shows a lawless society under professionalism. So this is why people are going to get angry. People are settling down because of the race and the sex wars are starting to be over. But there's an insurgence coming, and it's already been happening for so long, and it is about the war on children, and it's going to come out more. It's not just the rape gangs with the Muslims, it's what's going on within the fractions of government and where these children are being placed. And this is the main concern. These children shouldn't be taken on pre-crime, and the people in charge shouldn't be getting financial beneficiaries of at least £1,000 for placing a child in a foster placement under government taxpayers' pockets. And this is what will mark a new era when we start to decide that this needs to go. Okay, child law needs to go. Thank you. My name is Gemma Haley. I am a criminologist, mother of two.